Now, I made a video ages ago about when in 2017, I experienced these anxiety attacks, these panic attacks. I didn't understand what it was then. Um, I'd gone through all of that. I'd just come out of a 5 year obsession with the gym as well, with bodybuilding, with, you know, getting beefed up, building muscle, bodybuilding. I just been obsessed with that for 5 years as well. So that, along with the whole experience of panic attacks and anxiety and all that kind of business, I'd just gone through all of that, and on top of that, my son was due to be born, um, in 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 September of 2017. So here we are in July of 2017. 27 years old. Yeah, all that's going on, or whatever. So I walked into this boxing club, martial arts club, with my good friend Dave, and you know, I was a bit shaken up in the sense that having all this anxiety throughout the early stage of that year, it kind of threw me a bit. I didn't know who I was, or I'd never experienced anxiety before, so it sort of knocked me down. It made me feel weak. So going into this boxing, I keep saying boxing because I primarily train boxing, but it is actually a mixed martial arts club. Anyway, whatever. So, I went one session, I went a couple of sessions, and it only took me a couple of sessions before the coach, the main man, Mr. Jason Carr, the legendary Jason, our coach there, again, legendary man. He basically said to me, look, do you fancy doing a bit of sparring? So I said, yeah, of course. Now, all the time, in the same, I'd lost this sort of, I'd had this sort of sense of loss of who I was. I always had this image of myself as this tough guy, when I was younger. I've spoken about this before in previous videos. So although I'd gone through this anxiety and this panic attack and all this kind of business, and which made me feel weak, there was still this underlying. Underlying's a big word that's been used over this past couple of years, with the coronavirus and all that. But underlying, I still had this underlying mental, psychological image of myself as being someone who was tough. I could handle myself, yeah. I was tough. I was hard, I still had this mental image of myself. So, yeah. The first person I sparred with was a guy called Simon Medhurst, who I came to be acquainted with regularly through the club. Lovely guy, lovely guy. Fantastic kickboxer. Goddamn, whip my ass easy. Really lovely guy, Simon Medhurst. Anyway, he was the first person I ever sparred with, and I could honestly, he didn't batter me or beat the hell out of me, but he was just peppering me with shots, not knockout shots. It was all respectful, but I just couldn't. I was useless. I couldn't. I had no movement. I don't even think I hit him once, basically, and I couldn't wait for the round to finish. And when it finished, oh God, I just wanted the ground to just swallow me up, because everything I thought of myself, this image of myself, had just been demolished. I suddenly, and then I, moved on to the next sparring partner, who happened to be a female, the lovely Alice Woodham. Again, fantastic boxer, undefeated in the club. Lovely girl. Aside from her boxing achievements, lovely person. Anyway, I sparred with her, and again, as you can imagine, her being a female, goddamn whip my ass. Cut to the end of that. Cut to the end of that session when it was time to go home. I walked to my van and drove home. and I was like a broken man. I felt like such a pussy, you know, because everything I thought of myself, I had this mental image of myself as being such a tough guy, you know, and it was all destroyed that night. Although earlier that year, 2017, I'd gone through all that anxiety, all that kind of business, which I didn't understand, which to me was just, you know, I still had that underlying image of myself as being this tough guy. So after those few rounds of sparring that night, man, that just completely destroyed that image of had of myself. And then I was lost again, because who am I? You know, I can't even spar. Didn't even land any meaningful punches on these guys. You know, I'm useless. My point of making this video is this. Image. We all have a physical image in the sense of the way we dress. You know, I wear a lot of light grey, as you might have noticed. I'm at work. In all these videos, I'm generally at work, but whether I'm at work or out of work, I wear light grey. I like a lot of checkered. I like checkered stuff. You know, you'll see me wear my checkered goddamn jacket like a lumberjack. That's my physical image. My bald head, my tattoos. That's physically how I look. My physical image. But mentally, I can't stress how important it is to be aware of the mental image. What you think of yourself, in other words. How you think of yourself. It's so important, because I walked into that boxing club thinking I was this, thinking I was a tough guy, thinking that these underlying thoughts were still there. That see the truth of this. I hope if you're listening, listen to this. I walked into the club with that image. I walked out and created another mental image. I'm a pussy, I'm weak, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. Oh, I'm useless. That's another image I was now creating and forming. An image born of thought. So in other words, I walked in there thinking I was tough. I walked out thinking I was a pussy. Either way, it was still a thought. I was still thinking of myself in a certain way. Why do we need to think anything of ourselves? Or in other words, why do we need to form a mental image of ourselves at all? Physically, again, of course, physically, the way we dress, the way we look, that's our physical image. But mentally, why is it necessary? Ask yourself that. All the best. Take care.